Welcome to the video for the Chapter 4 part of the Chapters 4 through 6 project. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the tools in Excel that you're going to need to do this project, as well as talk a little bit about the question where it asks if the results are significant or not. You'll notice I chose some different numbers than what's in the book, but everything I'm going to do is going to be exactly like you're going to do, just with the numbers in the book. The first thing is the mean. So remember, mean is average in Excel. So I'm going to do average and select my cells. And standard deviation is stan div S for sample. And select my data. And now I've done it for both X and Y, and I can just drag them over to do it for the Y as well. Remember, we went over these for chapters 1 through 3, which is why I went through it so quickly. The next thing we're asked to do is to do the scatter plot. So I'm going to go over here to Insert. I'm going to select my data, Recommended Charts, and it should have a scatter plot. It wasn't showing up there, so I'm going to come over here, and there's XY scatter. And I'm going to click it and click OK. And you'll see now it's entered the scatter plot for me. I'm going to move it up so it's a little bit easier to see. X is along the bottom, Y's this way. And then the next thing it asks us to do is to find the linear regression equation. Well, there's a few ways to do this. First thing you can do is you can add the data to the chart. And then the second way you can do it is by using the formulas. So first I'm going to start off by using the formulas, and then I'll show you how to do it on the graph as well, because you will have to show the equation, the actual trend line. So for the slope, it's just slope, which is nice and easy. It says known y's first, and then known x's. And intercept is just intercept. And then do the x's. And again, it always asks you for y first and then x for these. Now, when it comes to the chart, if you go up here and you click on the plus in this version, you can add a trend line. And then default is always linear, but you can always come over here and look at it. So there I've added the trend line. Now if I wanted to add the equation, if I double click on it, if I click on this line twice, the format trend line will show up. And at the bottom you can say display equation on chart and display R value. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I also kind of like to a lot of times move it forward a couple points and backwards a couple points. It just makes the graph a little bit longer and you can see it a little bit more. Now we can go ahead and check that our equation is the same. Our slope is 1.31, yes, and our intercept is 7.19, yes. So they're both the same. You'll notice I already told it to put the r squared value on here, and that's fine. You can just do it that way, or you can go ahead and calculate it. Remember, r is correlation, and so that's what the formula is. It's correl, short for correlation. And since correlation doesn't matter which is x and which is y, it's not determining how strong, it tells you how strong the linear regression is, but not how dependent x is on y or y is on x, just that they're related. So we can go ahead and do that, and then r squared would just be to square this. So go ahead and select that cell, then the caret 2. And you'll notice that I have 0.976, 0.976, same results. Now at this point in the book, when you read the problems, it's going to ask you to tell if these results are significant or not. Well, if you go to page 148 and 149, you'll see a problem similar to this in the homework, and I'm pretty sure I assigned it to you in WebAssign. In table 4.6, there's critical values for the correlation coefficient. First thing we need to know is n. In this case, and in the case of your homework, we need to know that there are 9 data pairs. So n is 9. And on the table, you'll see a spot where it has n, Then it's got alpha equals 0.05 and alpha equals 0.01. And for n equals 7, n equals 9, sorry, I have 0.67 and 0.80. So we look at our R value, which is 0.988. Since it is bigger than both of these, it's a significant result. If our R value had been smaller, then it would not be significant. And one thing it does mention in the book is that it says it's the absolute value of R. So if R was negative, we would just ignore the negative sign. So in this case, I would say that it's significant on both cases. Then the last thing it asks you to do is to predict what the y value will be given some x values. And to do this, you can use the forecast feature. And it says to enter the x value, which I said over here for my sample, I was going to use 5.5. Then the known y's and the known x's. And it forecasts it, and I could do the same thing for 10. But there's also another way. What if we didn't want to use the Excel formula? We already have the equation of the line. We could use that. So I'm going to do that first with the 5.5. We know the slope. We're going to multiply that by our x and add our intercept. And notice I get the exact same answer. So you can either use forecast or you can use the equation of the line. Either one is fine, and I don't care which one you use. It's personal preference. They're about the same amount of work. And I'm not picky about using the forecast formula. It's really nice to use forecast when you don't already have the equation of line. Let's say you're not making a graph and you're using it for something like a business where you want to predict what something's going to happen in the future and you're not going to worry about the equation or the graph. But in this case, we already have the equation, so using forecast is optional. So these are the things that you're going to be doing in Excel. So your Excel sheet, when you turn it in, should look something like this for Chapter 4. Now remember, you will also have a Word document for Chapter 4. Make sure you answer all the questions that it asks you to, and turn those in a Word document. If you have any questions, please let me know.